There are many verses in the Bible which are very frequently abused by a variety of different people for a variety of different reasons. But there is one verse, I think, which is probably abused far more than any other verse. Now, I'm not saying that this is just the number one most misinterpreted verse. I think there are, of course, many verses which many various denominations misinterpret in many different ways. But this verse isn't a verse which I understand is just a honest disagreement between different people. This is a verse which I think is just being blatantly misunderstood and blatantly abused by people who either don't do the time to actually look into what it really says or don't really care what it really says. Now, okay, that's a bit harsh. I'm not saying everyone who cites this verse is doing it out of malice and that they're just intentionally abusing it. What I'm saying is this verse has been abused for so long that people can honestly go to it and read it and miss what it pretty clearly seems to be saying. Okay, but what even is this verse? Well, you've probably figured it out from the title, but just in case you haven't gotten it yet, it's the famous "Judge not, lest ye be judged." This verse is used all the time, especially by left-wingers, and essentially how they translate it is, never say anyone is doing anything bad ever. Because if you are saying anyone is ever doing anything bad, then you are judging them. These same left-wingers who cite this verse to say that you can't condemn certain types of practices would also condemn other people for doing many different things, obviously. Though I'm not going to go into the vast extents of left-wing hypocrisy, which I hope we're all very familiar with at this point. This verse is, however, also used by non-left-wing people sometimes too, to make basically the same point, often because they just are legitimately deceived and don't understand what it's really saying. What I think makes the abuse of this verse quite bad is the fact that by just reading it, I think it makes it quite clear what it means. We don't really need that deep of exegesis or getting into what the Church Fathers believed to understand what it seems to be saying. But okay, let's back up for a second. There's a reason I've been thinking about this topic lately, and it's because of Andrew Klavan. For those of you who are unaware, he's a conservative podcaster from the Daily Wire. He does a show 4 days a week, usually talking about current events, but of course with other stuff sprinkled in too. He is also an author, and he's a convert to Christianity, having formerly been a secular Jew. He is broadly conservative, and he is very pro-life, but other than that, on most social issues, he generally aligns with the left, just, not in the same militant way that they are with those issues. And he is at least not particularly hostile to social conservatives for being socially conservative. His passion for Christianity seems to be quite sincere, but he also holds some heretical viewpoints on certain matters, particularly sexual things. He's never been incredibly clear on this, but I seem to get the impression from him that he does not believe that consensual sexual actions outside of marriage in general are a sin. At the very least, he has made quite clear that he does not believe that the traditionally condemned LGBT acts are inherently sinful. He has stressed many times the non-judgmental character of what he believes Christ taught, and how Christians should not be judging each other because of, again, the judge not verse. And this topic recently on one of his episodes, when replying to a mailbag question, came up, and this is what made me want to discuss this topic. The question came from a pastor from the United Methodist Church, and he wanted to ask Andrew Klavan what he thought really needs to be preached on now. Klavan's answer was pretty long, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll just show you guys the relevant clip to this topic.
And basically, I find the preachers will tell you, like, well, what it really means is be nice and give the church money. Be nice, give the church money. Be nice, give, or sometimes ascribe to some leftist, stupid social justice thing. And none of that is in the Gospels. I've read them a million times, and none of that is in there. What he is saying is genuinely radical, and I don't think that preachers step back enough and take a look at what it is about this relationship with Jesus that changes your life. Because I've talked about it a lot. I mean, I've talked, when I go and talk to evangelicals, and I love evangelicals, they're some of the nicest people on earth, but and I say to them, gee, what does it mean, judge not, lest you be judged? And they say, well, it means don't judge hypocritically. I didn't need this God to come incarnate himself to tell me not to judge hypocritically. I think we all know we shouldn't judge hypocritically. That's not what it says. It says judge not. It says judge not. And I mean, this is really important stuff to me.
So the overall point that Andrew Klavan is trying to say is that he doesn't want people to just brush away the message of the gospel. He doesn't want them to just say the gospel just means be nice. He wants them to really take the message seriously, and that there's really challenging things in there that we really have to accept, and that judge not is one of these things. And he further says that it doesn't just mean don't be a hypocrite, because you don't need God to literally come down from heaven to explain that to you. I'll deal with this latter point first because it's the easiest. Yes, the message, don't be a hypocrite, might seem kind of basic, but maybe that's because it's been in our civilization's canonical text for 2,000 years. And clearly Christ did think that was an important message, because it's something he repeats again and again and again. Just reading through the Gospel of Matthew should make this pretty clear. He's constantly calling the scribes and Pharisees hypocrites. There's so many examples of this, it almost feels pointless to pick one out, but I'll do that just so we're clear on the matter. Matthew 23, verse 24 to 27 is a good example. You blind guides, straining out a gnat and swallowing a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and the plate, but the inside is full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and the plate, that the outside may be clean. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly appear beautiful, but within are full of dead people's bones and uncleanness. So there's clearly multiple things going on in this passage. Don't focus on outward appearances over inward realities, and don't focus on small things over big things. But there is also the point of don't be a hypocrite. This is a point which Christ returns to time after time after time. He says this a lot, and I'm sorry if this is too basic of a message for Andrew Klavan, but it's clearly something that he thought was important. Okay, let's get into the actual verse that this entire video is about to begin with. As I've already said, I don't think it's even very complicated. I think reading it should make it pretty clear, but let's see. Judge not that you be not judged. For with the judgment that you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure that you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye, but not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is holy, and do not throw your pearls before pigs, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to attack you. Okay, so let's break this down in case it isn't clear what's going on here. For one, it clearly does have to do with hypocrisy, because the word hypocrite is literally used within the passage. Now, obviously, that's really shallow exegesis. I'm not just saying because the word hypocrite is used that means that that's all that's going on here. But that clearly must be a component. It clearly can't just be the judge not part. And even saying judge not lest ye not be judged doesn't even really make that much sense if you take it in the strict literal way that liberals for some reason want to take that one passage and no other passage in the Bible. Because we know the Bible is very clear that you will be judged at the end. So this clearly can't be as simple as saying, well, if you just don't judge people, then you will never be judged by God, because we know you will be judged by God. But the part that should really clear this all up, that should make it pretty obvious what's going on here, is verse 4 and 5. How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you have a log in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. This verse should make it really clear that it's not saying never say that your brother is ever doing anything wrong, because it's specifically commanding you to take the speck out of your brother's eye after you have taken the log out of your own eye. Again, I'm not even sure how this isn't clear. I'm not being coy here. I really don't know how people misinterpret this so much, other than that they want to misinterpret it. And I don't think Andrew Klavan is being dishonest. I think this has just been such an abused passage that people can look at it and not see what it is actually saying. And the interpretation that says that this is saying never identify that anyone is ever doing anything wrong clearly just flies in the face of many other statements from Christ and other figures in the Bible. Just to take one of the most obvious examples, when Christ tells you to first go to your brother if he sins against you, and then to take it to several other people, and then, if he still refuses to listen, to take it to the church and have him treated as a heathen and a publican. That is clearly a judgment that is being pronounced. Christ is telling you to judge people, at least in one sense. And to make sure that I wasn't introducing anything novel, I did look up what some of the church fathers said on this passage, and St. John Chrysostom in particular had quite a lengthy write-up on it. He said basically the similar sort of stuff that I've already said, though he did have one additional interesting point. That is, in particular, on the judgment angle. He said that when a Christian judges someone, it should be as a physician, not as a judge. He also further shows that this passage could not possibly be saying that you can never inform anyone that their sinning is bad, because of the many examples of the Bible instructing you to do just that. One example being 2 Timothy 4:2, in which St. Paul says to reprove, rebuke, and exhort. The whole commentary is quite good, and if you want to learn more about this topic, I'd highly recommend reading it. It will be linked below. He further says on this passage, "Do you see that he forbids not judging, but commands to cast out first the beam from your eye, and then to set right the doings of the rest of the world? For indeed each one knows his own things better than those of others, and sees the greater rather than the less, and loves himself more than his neighbor. Wherefore, if you do it out of guardian care, I bid you to care for yourself first, in whose case the sin is more certain and greater. But if you neglect yourself, it is quite evident that neither do you judge your brother in care for him, but in hatred, and wishing to expose him. For what if he ought to be judged? It should be the one who commits no such sin, not by you." Thanks for watching. Please donate to my subscribe star if you enjoy these videos, and please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and please share these videos with anyone who you think might find them interesting. And a special thanks to my donors, Emmett Vestry, The Right Cafe, yourself, Siphius Rex, Lita, Seth Apex, King of Evil Florida and the Moon, Josiah, Adzutko, Hexorius, Quo Pregranator, and Charismatic Byzantine. Thanks everyone for watching, and goodbye.